Hi there, Old and Surly here. Today we're going to take a few minutes to talk about a set from 2006. This is set 6205, the Nimbus 3, or more commonly known V-Wing Starfighter. This contained 114 pieces, was released in January of 2006, and stayed on the shelves until December of 2007, so it had a 2-year run before retirement. Contained just 114 pieces and retailed for a price of $10, which is surprising considering you can't get a microfighter now for that price with the new Mandalorian microfighter coming out. And here you're getting a full actual set of a Starship build, including figure, for that price. So it's kind of amazing to me. It makes me long for the old days. But as you see here, you don't really sacrifice a lot despite having such a low piece count on this. It's a nice scaled build. It does scale very nicely to the modern TIE Fighter set that's been out the last couple years, kit 75300. So you could display this very easily with those sets and it'll blend quite well. Although, of course, it is smaller than the ARC 170 or V-19 Torrent fighters, but this was always intended to be more of a pocket-sized or snub fighter in scale as compared to those two larger-sized Republican clone fighters. So you don't sacrifice a lot there. There are a few things that you do have to compromise on with this type of older builds. For example, this does not actually have a hinged cockpit piece. This is a single cockpit window brick that goes on. There are some of those gaps that you do see on some of the lower piece count and lower price Lego builds. Although I'm sure that might be something you could mod fairly easily with a couple of extra red bricks. It does include the V-Wing pilot figure. However, it does not include a full R2 unit. It only includes the R2 head. So that is something to take note of. If you're buying this maybe just for the figures alone, you will only get one and technically a half of an R2 unit in it. There were two other builds in later years of the V-Wing, one in the Imperial Gray format, and then one larger, slightly larger scale build of this clone era color scheme. And they did manage to include some Technic hinge functionality that allowed these wings to rotate a little bit, whereas with this particular set they are stationary the way it is built. However, they're only held on by a single Technic pin, so you can very easily remove these and simply rotate them and reinsert them on the body and kind of have a nice version of it in a landed mode for display. However, in my case, I'm probably going to display it in something like this with the flight mode, just for my personal tastes. But overall, it's a very small build, takes less than a half hour to put together. The only thing it does suffer from, which I've talked about in some of my other builds, is you always have to deal with these early Lego instructions, which of course do not include any of the part lists for the upcoming steps and or in some cases where they go. In this one, for example, you do see that, but in some others you do not actually see where those bricks mount, which is a little frustrating. So just bear that in mind. If you're getting this for a younger builder, they may be a little bit frustrated, but I think for any other older builder or adult fan, it won't be much of an issue. You just have to get used to that compared to the new sets. But overall, it's a very fun build. As I said, with only 114 pieces, you can assemble this in about a half hour, and that's including the slightly archaic instructions on it. I think it'll display very well. You shouldn't have any issues with it from a display ability. You don't suffer from a lot of the flick fire missiles and some of the other things that a lot of users like to take off if they're planning on just displaying this. And I feel the way this is actually built, it's also a nice fun build that you could give to a younger user and just let them play with it and have fun. I mean, there's not a lot of pieces that are going to fall off. It's a very sturdy build and it's got a lot of good swooshability. So again, Kit 6205. You can pick this up on Bricklink, normally in a used condition for about $20 to $25, so about twice what it originally came out for. You can find a new in-box one for about $45 to $50 on average. So the price on this is still pretty reasonable despite the fact that being out of print for almost 10 years now. So if you have any questions or you'd like to see more on this, please feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to answer comments. If there's anything in particular you'd like to see, just drop me a line. It gives me ideas for future videos. Thanks again for watching. This is Old and Surly saying keep building.